Hey guys, this is Josh Salant from Salant Sound Studio, and I just wanted to share with you my 2023 template. I use this template for every single session that I do. Tracking, mixing, it makes my life a whole lot easier. It has all my ins and outs routed for my tracks for recording. It has all my sends and effects set up and routed and are always in the same place for mixing, and it makes things a little bit easier. So the first thing I want to show you is how to make a template. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make a Logic session, Logic project with all of your faders and stuff that you use. And then when it's finally done, you can hit File, Save as Template. And you can call it what you want to call it, and it's all done. Now, you can, when you open Logic, when you hit File, you can hit New from Template, and it'll automatically make a new project file with all these settings saved exactly the way you had it. Another way you can do it is if you go to your Logic menu and you go to Settings and you go to General, you can even, in the very first page here under Startup Action, you can hit Select a Template. And what that's going to do is it's going to be able to always be able to open the template right from the beginning. Okay, so how does a template work? How does this template work? Well, I have all my drum channels here, and the output, instead of being routed to stereo out, it's routed to a bus, bus 1. Bus 1 is going to automatically make an aux track, and here it is, bus 1. Here I have my drum bus. All the drums are on one fader. I can control the level of them. Also, I have a plugin that can control all the sounds that I want to use for that particular source. I have this for drums, bass, guitars, heavy guitars, guitar solos, keys, lead vocals, and background vocals. So this is the second layer here. And the third layer is what's known as VCAs. So you can't see it when you first open Logic. You have to set the settings, and this is what you do. You go into the mixer, you go to View, and you go to Channel Strip Components, and you just check on VCA. It's going to make this other lane above the fader, right under the pan pot. And what you can do is you can set all of faders of a like source, in this case drums, to that one VCA fader. So here we go. All these channels are going to the drum VCA. And also the drum bus with all my effects are also going to the drum VCA. What is a drum VCA? What is a VCA? A VCA is a fader that controls the level of the source in its entirety. It's a master fader for that source. So what that means is if I bring this volume level down, all the drums will come down in volume. But the real magic is it'll also keep the relationship with the reverbs intact. So it'll also lower the reverb for the drums at the same time. So you're not going to have this situation where you bring the drums down and all of a sudden things are too roomy because your reverb hasn't been brought down. This does both at the same time. Another cool little trick with VCA faders is you can take them and grab all of them. If things are getting a little too loud at the master and you want to retain your mix but get a little more headroom, just bring these bad boys down. And then you'll have the headroom and it won't change the mix because all of the stuff is being brought down at the same time. So I spend a lot of time at the VCAs because these faders are never locked. They're always free. You could always move them to try to find the levels that you need for your project. You could do a really, really quick mix like this because let's say, hey, I want the drums rocking. I'll bring everything else down. Then you're like, well, I need a little more vocal. Take all the vocals, bring it up. These are all the lead vocals. Anything you have set to that bus and that VCA, in this case, it's just one channel, will be lowered, and its reverb and delay, whatever you have. So you can really get a quick mix here. Also, another perk of this is that you don't have to lock your faders ever, because when you use automation, you know how it will lock to the last value you have set. So if you want, you can do automation on the groups where you have the plugins controlling the tone of the sounds, on the buses, the submixes, whatever you want to call it, subgroups. So you could do automation here, and you could have things riding in and out, up and down, but the overall masters, the master level is going to be here. These are masters for the whole mix, each element. So that's why I like to use VCA faders, and that's why it's part of my 3-level fader system. We have individual faders of all the instruments in the group, and we have a bus where we can control fun stuff like overall level going into the processors. This is my my analog summing into my Neve-ish console, 1176 for some drum compression, and then a little SSL EQ if I want to make things a little brighter or make things a little big and rockin' with this knob set to 60 hertz. So you could do some cool stuff. But basically, that's the way that the VCA faders work, and that's the way this template works. And if you want, you could go into the arrange view, and you could I could unhide, show some little hidden gem tracks that I have. So this is what I use. I have my backing track, which if I'm working in a hip-hop session and they have some tracks, I could just throw it into this, open up the BPM counter, have it count the BPM for me, so everything is set to the metronome in Logic. Makes it super, super easy. I have a little overall tone balance on this if I want to add some EQ or add a trim plugin to lower the gain. And then I have this YouTube channel, which is actually a loopback, a digital loopback. What happens is anything I could play off YouTube, I could automatically record it into Logic. And that's through using a loopback through my interface. That's a really, really cool trick if you ever want to get into that. Then I have my drum talk back. Just if I have a SM58 Shure microphone in the room, right by the drummer if he has to talk to us in the control room. Easy peasy. Then I have these tracks for samples. Trigger 2, Steven Slate, with some of my favorite kick samples, some of my favorite snare samples. So I have these kind of ready to go. Then I have my mic'd channels. Kick, sub-kick, snare top, snare bottom, each rack tom, and a floor tom, overheads, and drum room. And I can have a little processing on this if I wanna. This I'm using with the Slate VMS, so it's a virtual mic system. So I have a mic in the room, and then I could change the sound of it by choosing a different mic. But I'm sticking with the 47 because it's big and round, and it takes no prisoners. So here we go with some of the processing here, a little Neve emulation, a little 1176 for some compression. On the room mics, I just took off all the high end because I don't want cymbals to be ruining the party. I want to hear some kick and snare and some low end goodness and some low mid goodness. So that's what this does. So basically all my plugins and my plugin chains are ready to go. Here's my kick chain. We got our Neve summing, 1176, set to no compression just to get a little tone out of it. I got a 1073 giving us some harmonics, and then a little Neve EQ, a little bump at 2.2, I'm sorry, 3.2, so we can get a little snap on the beater, maybe a little bump at 60, maybe a little bump at 5 to get a little snap, So everything is kind of set. It's almost like an analog workflow. Now, if you can see, I have a bunch of sends here. On the drums, it's really not a lot, but I just have a hall reverb and a drum reverb. On some of the other channels, let me get rid of this hidden hidden stuff because we want to stick to stuff we're rocking every day. We have a bunch of sends here, and these all correspond to effects: hall reverb, plate reverb, quarter note delay or any other denomination, a slapback delay for real short delays, a room reverb, a chorus, and a flanger or a phaser. So basically you have all these sends ready to go, and they correspond to the auxes that are automatically made when you make a send. You put the plugin of your choice on there. In this case, I have some Space Designer, and it works beautifully. Also, another thing that I have in this template, it's a little hidden because I don't need to see it while I'm tracking, but this is some of the stuff under the hood. And that is the Headphone Sends. So over here I have all my stuff connected to my hardware cue system, and all the ins and outs are routed, all the outputs are made, so everything is basically done. When I pop into this session, everything is exactly how I want it to be. I have all my sends at my fingertips, all my levels at my fingertips, all the ins and outs are routed for each drum, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. We can get right to the music. So I hope you guys can rock a mixed template that works for you, and try some stuff out. I'm constantly updating this. As I change things around, as soon as I find the changes I like, I just hit File, Save as Template, and I just overwrite the old one, or you can make a new one, whatever works for you. So that's the way it works. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me at Josh Salant on Instagram, or Salant Sound Studios on Instagram, or on here. So hope you guys are doing great and are rocking, and hope you guys can get to the music and have some fun. Peace.